Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at house music,
Oh, yeah. House music.
from its origins, in Chicago, to the global phenomenon it is today,
Yeah, taking a look at how it started
how it's evolved.
and its cultural impact.
Some really fascinating stuff we're going to be covering.
Absolutely.
I, for one, am excited to get into it.
I think you might be surprised by some of the things we find.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I mean, I've heard that like a specific club in Chicago is actually the reason why the genre is called house music.
That's right.
Is that true?
It is the Warehouse. Back in the
Yeah.
early 80s, this place was just,
The warehouse.
yeah, it was a melting pot of music and energy. And right at the center of it all was this legendary DJ,
Oh wow.
Frankie Knuckles,
Frankie Knuckles.
often called the Godfather of House music.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that name. I don't know a ton about him, though. What made him so groundbreaking? What was so special about Frankie Knuckles?
Well, Frankie wasn't just playing records. He was creating an experience. He was a master at blending all these different genres together, taking that raw energy of disco, the irresistible groove of funk, and the soulful depth of soul music, and weaving it all together with this new, at the time, emerging sounds of electronic music.
Wow, so he's really like bringing all these different things together,
Yeah.
creating something new.
Exactly. And to do this, he was using some really innovative techniques. For example, he would often edit tracks, extending those instrumental breaks,
Yeah.
to create these longer stretches for dancing.
Oh, so people could just keep dancing?
Yeah, just keep the energy up on the dance floor.
Wow.
And he also layered drum machines, like the Roland TR-808 and TR-909, over existing tracks to add that electronic edge.
Okay, hold on. 808 and 909, these are pretty iconic drum machines.
Yeah,
They're in a
absolutely.
ton of music, but how did they specifically contribute to that house sound?
Now think about the 808, that deep, booming bass drum, perfect for that low-end pulse that drives a house track.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the 909, with its sharp, snappy snares, adding that percussive energy that keeps you moving.
Oh, so like you can really hear those in house music.
Oh, absolutely. Those sounds, combined with Frankie's mixing style, created this sonic landscape that was both familiar, but at the same time, totally groundbreaking.
Wow. So he really is laying the foundation for what we know as house music today. Were there other DJs shaping the sound at the time?
Oh, absolutely. Alongside Frankie, you had figures like Ron Hardy,
Ron Hardy?
known for his darker, more intense sets, and Larry Heard, whose tracks brought a much deeper, more introspective vibe to house.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then you can't forget Jesse Saunders, whose track On and On is often credited as one of the very first house records commercially released.
Wow, so all these different people coming together to make this new genre.
Exactly.
All these different styles. But what was it about this sound, about this new house music, that really resonated with people?
Well, I think it was a combination of things. First of all, the music itself was just so infectious, that steady, driving 44 beat, usually around 120 to 130 beats per minute. It just makes you want to move.
Yeah, it gets in your body.
Exactly. And then there's that hypnotic layering of sounds. You got those catchy piano riffs, the soulful vocals, and of course those deep bass lines that seem to vibrate through your entire body.
Oh, yeah, love that.
Yeah, it's a sensory experience that's both energizing and euphoric.
It's a whole vibe.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this pulsating beat, these layered sounds. What else makes a house track distinct? What should we be listening for?
Well, house music often follows a pretty specific structure. It's kind of like a sonic journey, you could say.
Oh, okay.
It usually starts with an intro to set the mood, followed by a build-up that gradually increases the energy and anticipation.
Okay, so it's building up and up.
Exactly. Then you hit the breakdown, where the music kind of strips back,
Oh,
creates a moment of suspense, and finally you get the climax, where all the elements come crashing back in, generating this incredible release of energy.
Oh, wow. It's a roller coaster for your ears.
So it's not just about the individual sounds, but how they're arranged to create this dynamic experience.
Exactly.
Like a
Robin.
carefully crafted recipe.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
You've got all the core ingredients,
Yeah.
the beat, the bass line, then all these extra layers and flavors
Yeah,
that make each track unique.
exactly right.
But it's all about how those elements are brought together.
Exactly.
And something that's really interesting about house music is that the tracks often feature extended instrumental sections,
Yeah.
which I think makes them so perfect for dancing and, just getting lost in the groove.
Absolutely.
Speaking of getting lost in the groove, this music wasn't going to stay hidden in the warehouse forever, was it? How did it begin to spread beyond Chicago?
Well, as you can imagine, this infectious sound just couldn't be contained. It started to spread through DJ mixes. word of mouth, and eventually through records. Pretty soon, house music was making its way to cities like New York,
Okay.
Detroit, even across the Atlantic to London.
Wow, so it was going global. It was. And each city embraced the sound in its own unique way, adding their own little twist to it, contributing to the genre's evolution.
Oh, wow. So it was really changing as it went to these different places.
Yeah, it really was.
But were there any specific tracks
Hmm.
that helped propel it into the mainstream?
There's a few that come to mind. For example, Move Your Body by Marshall Jefferson
Move Your Body, okay?
became a massive hit, introducing a wider audience to that raw energy of house music.
Oh, I can imagine that on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
It must have been so cool to hear that for the first time.
Absolutely. And of course, you can't forget Frankie Knuckles' Your Love.
Oh, yeah.
Your Love. That track, with its blend of soulful vocals and driving beats,
Yeah.
really captured the essence of early house music.
I can see why that became so popular.
Yeah.
Helped bring it to a global audience.
For sure.
But it wasn't just the music itself
No.
that drew people in. There was this whole culture,
Yeah.
a whole scene developing around it.
Absolutely. You can't really separate house music from the culture that surrounds it. It's all about the dance floors, the fashion, and most importantly, that sense of community and inclusivity that have always been at its heart.
Mm. Tell me more about those early house dance floors. What kind of moves were people throwing down?
Well, you have to remember, this music was made for dancing. And two styles that really emerged from the house scene were jacking and voguing.
Jacking and voguing? Okay,
Right.
I've heard those terms before, but I don't really know what they are. What made them unique?
So jacking is all about that raw, energetic release.
Okay.
It's characterized by fast footwork, fluid body movements, and a real focus on rhythm and groove.
So just like really feeling the music.
Yeah, like imagine someone moving almost like a puppet, being pulled by the beat
Oh, wow.
with these jerky, almost robotic movements. It's really something to see.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. And then there's voguing, which
Yeah.
is more about posing and creating these dramatic, stylized movements.
Oh, okay, so very different.
Very different. Yeah.
More visual.
Yeah, it's very visual, very theatrical, with dancers striking these angular poses and transitioning seamlessly between them. It's all about attitude and presence.
So jacking is like that raw energy,
Yeah.
almost like you're channeling the music directly through your body.
Exactly.
And voguing is more about this stylized performance,
Yeah.
like a dance battle.
That's a great way to put it. And both styles perfectly capture the spirit of house music, that freedom of expression, the connection to the music, and the joy of movement.
I love that. So the visual element adds another whole dimension to
Yeah.
this music. Was the fashion just as vibrant?
Oh, absolutely. House fashion is all about self-expression and standing out from the crowd.
Okay.
Think bold colors, eye-catching patterns, and a real sense of individuality.
So like peacocking almost.
Yeah, kind of. It's a way for people to show their personality, embrace their creativity,
Yeah.
and just celebrate being different.
It sounds like a rejection of the status quo,
Yeah, I think you could say that.
like a visual representation of the music's rebellious spirit. But there's more to it than just aesthetics. You mentioned inclusivity.
Yes. And this is a really important aspect of house culture. From its very beginnings, house music was embraced by marginalized communities, especially the LGBTQ plus community, in those early Chicago clubs. It created a safe space,
Yeah.
a place where people could come together, express themselves freely, and find acceptance.
So it's more than just a party.
Yeah.
It's about creating a sense of belonging,
Absolutely.
a space where everyone feels welcome.
Exactly. And that spirit of inclusivity has continued to be a defining feature of house culture throughout its history. It's a community that values diversity, celebrates individuality, and believes that everyone deserves to feel welcome on the dance floor.
It's amazing how music can create these kinds of connections,
Yeah.
bringing people together from all walks of life. But how has house music evolved over the years?
Yeah.
It's
certainly come a long way from those early Chicago clubs. It has indeed. And while those core elements, the driving beat, the soulful vibes, and the focus on groove are still present, house music has branched out in countless directions, giving rise to a vast array of subgenres.
Oh, yeah. So it gets really interesting. I know there's deep house and tech house, and probably a bunch of others I've never even heard of. Can you walk me through some of the key subgenres
Sure.
and how they've shaped the sound?
Of course. Let's start with deep house, which emerged in the late 80s, as
Okay.
the name suggests. It's known for its deeper, more atmospheric sound. It often features lush pads, jazzy chords, and a more soulful, introspective vibe.
So it's still got that house groove,
Yeah.
but with a more chilled out, almost hypnotic feel.
Exactly. Think of artists like Larry Heard
Oh yeah, Larry.
or Moody Man. Their music is all about creating these immersive sonic landscapes that you can just get lost in.
I love that. Okay, so we've got deep house. What else?
Well, there's tech house,
Yeah.
which emerged in the early 90s. It's characterized by its more minimal, stripped-down sound and a focus on driving repetitive rhythms.
Okay.
It often incorporates elements of techno, with its harder edge and industrial textures.
So if deep house is all about atmosphere and emotion, tech house is more about that raw driving energy.
That's a good way to put it. Think of DJs like Carl Cox
Oh yeah.
or Richie Houghton. Their sets are all about building tension and creating these hypnotic grooves that just keep you locked on the dance floor.
Wow. So each subgenre is like taking those core elements of house music and twisting them in new and interesting ways.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
Are there any other subgenres worth mentioning?
Oh, absolutely. There's acid house with its squelchy psychedelic sounds, often created using the Roland TB-303 synthesizer.
Oh, wow.
Then you have progressive house,
Huh.
which is known for its longer, more epic tracks, and its focus on building atmosphere and emotion.
Okay.
And let's not forget tribal house,
Yeah.
which incorporates elements of world music like African rhythms and Latin percussion into the house sound.
Wow.
The list goes on and on.
That's incredible. So this one genre has spawned so many different styles, each with its own unique character and appeal. Has this evolution led house music to new audiences? Is it still relevant today?
Absolutely. In fact, you could argue that house music has never been more relevant than it is today.
Really?
Yeah. The digital age and the rise of streaming platforms have made it more accessible than ever before, connecting artists and fans worldwide.
So the music is no longer confined to clubs and record stores.
Yeah.
It's literally at everyone's fingertip.
Exactly. And this global connectivity has led to a whole new wave of house music innovation, with artists from all over the world drawing inspiration from the genre's roots and pushing it in exciting new directions.
It's like those beats born in Chicago basements are now echoing in bedrooms and studios all over the world,
Exactly.
inspiring a whole new generation of producers and DJs.
That's the beauty of it. And what's really fascinating is that the influence of house music can be heard in so many other genres today, from pop to hip-hop to even rock.
So even if you don't realize it, you've probably been listening to music that's been touched by those Chicago house vibes.
That's right. And that speaks to the enduring legacy of house music. But to truly appreciate its impact, you need to understand its origins, its evolution, and the culture that surrounds it.
Well, that's exactly what we're doing here today. We're diving deep into the heart of house music, exploring its past, present, and even taking a glimpse into its future.
And speaking of the future, that's what we'll be exploring next. We'll be looking at how this dynamic genre is continuing to evolve, where it might be headed, and what its lasting impact might be.
Okay, so we've traced this incredible journey of house music, from those dimly lit Chicago basements to global domination. We've seen how it's evolved, splintered into all these subgenres, and influenced music far beyond the dance floor. Now let's put on our speculative goggles and look into the future. What's next for house music?
Well, one of the things that really excites me is we're seeing this new generation of DJs and producers really pushing the boundaries. They're not just replicating the classics, they're experimenting with fresh sounds, incorporating all this new technology, and blending genres in ways we haven't heard before.
So they're building on that foundation laid by the pioneers,
Exactly.
but taking it in directions no one could have predicted.
Absolutely.
And I think the digital landscape really plays a role in this. Platforms like SoundCloud and Bandcamp
Yeah.
allowing artists to share their music directly with the world, bypassing the traditional gatekeepers of the music industry.
For sure.
This means a wider variety of voices are being heard, leading to even more diversity within the genre.
Yeah, it's like a democratization of music creation,
Yeah,
giving more power to the artists
Yeah.
and creating these new pathways for innovation.
absolutely. And this spirit of experimentation and collaboration, that defined early house music. It's alive and well.
It is.
It's all about pushing boundaries, trying new things, seeing what happens. Who knows what incredible sounds and experiences await us?
I can't wait to find out.
But with all this experimentation and fusion happening, do you think house music risks losing its core identity?
That's an interesting question. And it's something that a lot of people are discussing. But personally, I think the core elements of house melee, that driving beat, the focus on groove, those soulful vibes, are so strong that they can withstand a lot of experimentation. In fact, I think embracing new ideas is essential for any genre to stay relevant and vibrant.
It's like they say, the only constant is change.
Yeah.
House music has always been about evolution, and it seems like that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Absolutely not. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's a living, breathing genre, constantly adapting and reinventing itself.
I love that. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? What should you take away from this deep dive into the world of house music?
Well, I hope you've gained a deeper appreciation for the rich history and cultural impact of this genre. It's more than just a collection of catchy beats. It's a movement. It's a community, a way of life even.
Yeah. Next time you hear a house track pulsing through your speakers, take a moment to think about those Chicago basements, about the DJs who poured their hearts and souls into creating something new, about the dancers who found freedom and belonging on those dance floors.
Remember that you're not just hearing a song. You're experiencing a legacy born from innovation, driven by passion, and sustained by this global community, united by the love of rhythm soul and the power of music to bring people together.
So keep exploring. Dive deeper into the diverse world of house music. Discover your own favorite artists, tracks, and subgenres. And most importantly, get out there and dance, and the music is waiting. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you on the next one.